Everybody, if you're trying to figure out what that was a little backyard band. Backyard band. Once again, thanks again for joining me here live. This is Nick Smith coming at you there. You know, I wanted to make sure I start every session with a little bit of music, and that's what I was trying to do because, Nick, why go-go music? What's up with that? Well, it's kind of in the news right now because we've been talking about it just because of different things that are happening. So I wanted to introduce you to a group called Backyard Band. They are DC original, and they are probably one of the more popular homebred groups that do that go-go music sound that is all about DC. It really is inculcated into the culture and the community here. So you cannot, I'm going to tell you straight up, I don't think you can have a conversation about Washington, DC that does not include mumbo sauce and go-go music. So there you go. It's just that simple. Mumbo sauce and go-go music. Mumbo sauce and go-go music. I'm keeping an eye on things here, making sure that my audio is where it needs to be. I told you once again I'll spend 30 minutes with you. I won't overstay my time because I know that you're on your lunch break. I'm setting my clock right now. So you're like, Nick, blah, 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 blah. So here we go. We're doing a little countdown. And I'm going to play just a little bit more of the Backyard Band just so that you can get a little taste of music and possibly understand where I'm going with the next story as I bring up the song that I was playing for you. There was one called Baby Fat, and this. So you get it. A lot of percussion and usually vocals over it. So that's the idea. That's the whole go-go sound, and that's what's so deep and rich here in the community. I would argue it's similar to what jazz and blues is to Chicago, and more particularly maybe blues even more so to the South. But yeah, it's deep, it's rich, and it's part of the culture here. But it's also part of a story that I'm going to bring to you later in a few minutes because what's trending right now is Don't Mute DC. And some are making it an argument about gentrification and how the community has changed and how those who are now either buying or moving into the community aren't necessarily as crazy about that music playing, particularly it may be outside loud enough where you're hearing it in your apartment across the street. But before I get ahead of myself, what I'm going to do is I want to punch up our regular rundown. I want you to remember to like and subscribe below. Remember, like and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get an alert every time something is posted. Reminding you once again that I am in the Fox 5 DC newsroom, so people will be moving around and back and forth. The next time Gary floats this way, I'm going to invite him over so he can give us a little preview of the weather. That way we can have an idea of what's going on. We're going to take things spontaneous as they happen. So before anything else happens, I want to make sure I bring up my rundown so you can see exactly what we're going to be talking about today. I want you to see Tuesday, April 9th, 2019. Why don't we pop Nick in there as well so I can chat with you while we look at this. We are going to do what's popping. Talking about Don't Mute DC, the whole space plane. You know, it's just situational. It's one of those things where some people have mixed feelings about it. But like I told you, we're going to keep this fluid and moving. And because my colleague Kevin McCarthy is standing in the wings, I want to get him now while he has time because everybody's running doing 10,000 things. If you watch Good Day DC like I know you do, then you know Kevin was on that show this morning. So brother has to be tired. So we want to give him the space he needs. And we're going to go ahead and do that now while we've got Kevin. Kevin, sir, come on over and talk to me there. I want you to pull up a chair. We are live, brother. We are live. I'm going to mic you up, and you and I are going to talk about all things that are happening this spring that you're excited about happening in both arts and entertainment. Yeah. Because I saw you break down earlier. For those of you all who don't know, this is Kevin McCarthy. Kevin has been a true film aficionado for years. He and his wife. Fair to say,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think it's probably the dueling artists in there. You can probably talk and discuss movies all day long.
That's all we really ever do. I mean, like, yeah, my wife and I met in a movie theater in 2012, actually. Yeah, and started dating and got married in 2016. And then we have like a movie room in our house with Blu-rays and
you agree to disagree if you don't like a movie, or you have to explain why.
Yeah, there's things that we disagree on a lot, and like, you know, there's certain genres that she likes more than I do. But I mean, I try to like I try to like every genre I possibly can.
Sure.
So.
Or find the value in it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I remember having a conversation once with Brian Kopelman, who, for those of you who may or may not know, Brian is probably one of the most popular writers and producers right now, doing Billions. And I met him at a fair and just sitting there talking with him. I said, Brian, do you get distracted in movies, or do you sit there finding yourself saying, why did they take that shot? Why did they do this and that? And he said, not at all. Unless it's really, really bad, I completely commit. Do you find that you're still able to commit, or are you comparing it to other films, Kevin?
Well, it's it's interesting that we all go to movies with certain bias. So we all bring our own lives to the cinema or whatever TV show you're watching. So, I mean, I don't think it's physically or mentally possible not to think of things while you're watching a movie. If a movie is really great, it will suspend your disbelief in a way where you don't think about the outside world. I mean, sometimes movies are so great that even if you've seen it multiple times, you can actually think to yourself that this may change. Something I'm doing while watching this may change the outcome of this story I haven't seen before.
Sure.
Or if you see a true story and you already know the ending to it, and you still find yourself suspending your disbelief to a point where you kind of wonder what's going to happen, even though you already know what's going to happen.
Right.
So to answer your question about I mean, it's hard. It depends on how the movie grabs you. It depends on how the film story it pulls you in, and I think a lot of it has to do with the idea that what's going on in our life that day. If we're having a bad day, does that gonna take us out of the movie?
Right.
Things like that. I think it's movie to movie.
Well, Kevin, one of the reasons I invited you over, now you all can see Kevin. Kevin has gotten situated. He's settled. Kevin does Good Day DC. Kevin also does pieces that air on our later newscasts, because we're always on the fox5dc.com.
Right.
You can find Kevin on every social media platform, Instagram, Twitter. I will warn you, make sure that when you're tweeting Kevin McCarthy, you're tweeting the right Kevin.
Right.
So it's Kevin McCarthy TV.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we're clear. And there's a running joke there that I'll explain to you some other time. But Kevin, I know that people, for the most part in the mornings, are busy. I just try to steal people because I do a 30-minute YouTube channel here where I'm just breaking down. If somebody's running through the newsroom, we grab them and just kind of pull them in. Kevin, what has you excited this summer? Because I remember last year, right around 2018, end of 2018, you and I were really excited about Us.
Yeah.
And so I know that there's always something on the horizon that you're excited about this coming out. And I know that you were talking earlier today about the Avengers movie, and this particular director, with whom I'm not as familiar, you were talking about how he has been your favorite, particularly in that genre. Yeah,
well, the directors who are doing Avengers Endgame are Anthony and Joe Russo, and those are the gentlemen who did my 3 favorite films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's been over 20 films now in this particular universe. Remember, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Avengers, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, there's a Doctor Strange, Spider-Man. So these particular directors, Joe and Anthony, started on this movie called Winter Soldier, which was my favorite film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was a Captain America film called Captain America Winter Soldier. Then they did Captain America Civil War, which had the airport sequence. The reason why I love Winter Soldier so much is because Winter Soldier has this epic bridge sequence fight that was very practical and grounded, no pun intended. An amazing scene. That on top of Civil War with the airport sequence, and then you have Infinity War, which is the last movie they did, which was one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. It was a film that flawlessly juggled dozens and dozens of characters in a time period that just felt like it moved and moved and moved.
And that it worked.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the task of having dozens of famous characters like that all in one film telling one story
without it becoming a mess
is really hard to do. And credit goes to the writers as well, Marcus and McFeely, who wrote the film. They're amazing storytellers, and the Russo brothers just really know how to execute and really give every scene importance. Every frame of an Avengers Infinity War is an important moment. And one thing they always say, which I find interesting, is that they always talk about the idea that action, everything that happens in a film in regards to action, it needs to move the story forward. It's not just action to be cool, it's action to move the story forward.
Action with purpose.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Avengers Endgame is, it's the culmination. It's a huge, we don't know what's going to happen. We know at the end of Infinity War, we know Thanos snapped his fingers, and 1 finger, 2 fingers, whatever, and half the world's population, living creatures, were gone. Billions of people and lives wiped out. and that included some of the Avengers: Black Panther, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Star-Lord. All characters who disintegrated into dust.
We saw the disintegration.
Right,
Yeah, right.
and
Absolutely.
so it was a big shocking of an
Right.
ending, right? So now the question is, in Endgame, are they going to be able to defeat Thanos? Can they reverse what happened?
Right.
And no one knows.
Or are they in some alternate universe? Or,
Yeah,
or
people-
anything.
yeah.
You've heard all of the theories.
Yeah,
There's-
people have talked about the idea of them going into the quantum realm, which was obviously a part of the Ant-Man films. So I'm very interested to see where they go with it. I think that the Russo brothers are brilliant at misdirection, and I sat down with them this weekend and talking about the trailer, and there's a scene in the trailer which is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. The trailer.
Kaiser Soze.
Kaiser Soze, right? Yeah.
I listen.
Yeah.
So I actually do enjoy and watch Kevin.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun.
But
explain that to people.
Well,
Because
I
jumped.
No, I was just asking them about a scene in the trailer that I liked, and over the years, they've joked about how their trailers don't actually feature a lot of the scenes that you see in the trailer. It's like very, very misdirection.
Sure.
Trying to get people away from trying to figure out what the secrets are going to be in the
Which
and
is
the
creative
plot
in and of
twists.
itself.
Yeah, but this question that I asked I wasn't asking them because I thought it wasn't in the movie. I was asking them because I thought for sure it was in the film. And you will see my reaction in the interview. I was asking about a scene that when this trailer dropped last week when the tickets went on sale. It was a scene where Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, Captain America and Iron Man, Iron Man says, "Do you trust me?" and Cap says, "I do." And it was a really emotional moment seeing those two characters reunite. It's my favorite scene of any footage I've seen so far from the film. And my question simply to them was, what was it like to be behind the camera directing that scene?
When that moment happened.
Yeah, just tell me the emotions of that scene.
Sure.
I'm not spoiling anything. The scene's already out there. It's a public scene that's been put out into the public. And the first thing Joe Russo goes is, "Oh, that's not in the movie." And I'm like what?
Yeah.
And so I was like, because I had heard they do that, but I was like, that seems too important. So we'll see what happens. But the part of the interview was that they just, basically telling me it's not in the movie.
Right.
And then Joe goes, "Maybe it is in the movie." I'm like, what's
You're
the
like,
answer
stop
here?
playing with
So
me.
it's all
Yeah, right.
it's all misdirected. I mean, they have fun with it a little bit. So,
I love that.
yeah.
Kevin, and that full interview, of course, is available on fox5dc.com
Yeah.
because Kevin did that earlier today on Good Day DC. Remember to like and subscribe below, and you can follow Kevin on Twitter and Instagram at Kevin McCarthy TV. Kevin, quickly, things to look out for this summer.
Yeah, well, this summer is going to be huge. I'm excited about John Wick 3.
I am too.
Huge
Yeah.
fan. Because Nick and I have very similar movie
Yeah,
tastes.
yeah.
We always talk at my desk about.
But I'll cry at the drop of a hat.
I
Like
cry
I
a
sat
lot.
on the plane flying to Amsterdam and cried at Green Book.
Yeah,
Like nobody told me it was that good.
I cry in Terminator 2.
So
I mean, I cry
Good.
in action films.
Right.
I cry, but yeah, Green Book was really good. I thought this year is going to be special. We have Aladdin coming out. Hopefully that'll be good. Lion King, Jon Favreau's Lion King, which
Yeah,
should be
that's
interesting.
right.
John Wick 3, Toy Story 4, Avengers
Dude,
Endgame.
Toy Story, I've gone on and on
Yeah.
about Toy Story. Toy Story 3 had to be one of the most emotional roller coasters I've ever been on.
It was a perfect ending. I'm
Oh,
very
my
confused as to why
goodness,
we're having
yes.
a fourth one. But
and the bear and how he was going to lift
Yeah.
them. Oh my, yeah, I don't want to give anything away. Toy Story 3.
and you saw
yeah.
Us, and Us is
Yes,
doing really well. I've seen Us 3 times now. If I can recommend anybody, if you really want to do some really cool investigative work, go see Us a couple times. It's like it's a lot
figure out
of
a couple-
fun to find like the Easter eggs that Jordan Peele has sprinkled throughout this film. It's truly incredible.
You mentioned Easter. I'm going to tell you, my mom, who will probably watch this stream later, one of her favorite Easter movies ever. Kevin, I'm going to kind of quiz you. It involves, I'm going to tell you, oh, Mom, I can't believe it. Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. And you know what that is?
It's oh my gosh, I'm like totally blanking right now. I chose this movie as a best
She
Easter
loves this
movie. Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers. Give me a hint on the title again.
On the Avenue,
I don't remember.
Fifth Avenue, the Easter Parade.
I know, I've seen it.
Yep,
and it has it in the title.
And she's.
I will
she's
say,
just like-
I'll be serious about this. When I compiled a list of Easter films a couple years back for a segment, and that was one of the movies I had not seen.
Mhm.
And then I went back and rewatched a lot of the clips, and because I was like, and it's funny because that was a film that I just, we were growing up.
You grew up,
we
yeah,
tried
your
to watch
parents-
a
yeah,
lot of
right,
different
right,
movies,
yeah.
and that was one of them that I hadn't seen at that point. But it's funny you brought that up because that was a big one on the. I just did a list of the most famous Easter films of all time, and that one I got a lot of response from that one
Yeah,
from people.
yeah,
So
I don't doubt that at all. That's just always been one that we kind of grew up with in our house, and that, and my mother was just a strong fan of the classics. Loved Betty Davis, so you saw
Fred Astaire is a
Davis
genius.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kevin, thanks again.
Nick,
I appreciate
it was
I know
awesome.
you're doing 10,000
no,
things.
thank you
I appreciate
for
that.
having me come on.
Forget your mic there.
I appreciate it.
This is what we're talking about. I just try to, when I have an opportunity, grab whoever's floating around in the newsroom, because everybody's doing 10,000 things. Thank you so much. But it is a team. None of us do it alone. So there may come a time when Kevin needs me to support him doing something, and I will jump right on over there and do it. But one of the things we also talk about is how so many of us we work with our writers and producers to try to put together what it is that we're doing on camera, right? So that it can all kind of come together, because we're only as good as the other half of people that you're not seeing. Our writers and producers help to make sure that when we're on air presenting whatever we're presenting, that it's solid, that it's together, that we have the latest information. And our photographers make sure that we have the best video to help us with our storytelling, which kind of leads me to the next thing. Remember we talked about go-go music before Kevin came over? I want to go ahead and roll a little bit of the story that aired last night on fox5dc.com, just talking about there's a movement afoot that has started and really exploded the hashtag Don't Mute DC. Don't Mute DC is about the community and its love of go-go music, and how some feel as though the ability to play the music loud is starting to rob the community of its true essence. But let's take a look at this, and then you and I can talk about it on the other side. Remember, I want you to like and subscribe below. You can always find me on both Instagram and Twitter at Nick Smith News. And yeah, I want to go ahead and to show you a little bit. I'll play it a couple of times so that we can talk about it and see what you're thinking when we talk about the role of keeping communities and places authentic, but also recognizing that with that change, there may be those who don't necessarily share and celebrate the history that you believe defines your community, but who have also decided to move and into a community and bring their own values and their own enrichment, because if we are indeed a multicultural community, then everyone adds value, correct? All right, let's talk about it. We'll talk about it on the other side. This is all about the hashtag that is trending right now, Don't Mute DC.
Underway.
Many things are not illegal.
Exactly.
Disrespectful.
If it's not breaking the law, why are you trying to move it?
Benjamin Kozlowski lives nearby and says his issue is with the volume.
It's just too loud. I don't mind the music. Go-go's part of the DC culture. What I do mind is the loudness, and it really hurts my ears to walk by.
City officials say the volume has never broken the city's noise ordinance, and complaints to police or the agency that regulates the ordinance are rare. Backlash to T-Mobile's decision has drummed up more than 15,000 signatures to bring the music back.
They trying to kill our culture, right? We've been here, and we tired of it.
According to the owner, it happened after a complaint from a resident of the luxury apartment complex across 7th Street. The culture clash was on display Monday afternoon before the protest got underway.
Many things are not illegal.
Exactly.
Disrespectful.
If it's not breaking the law, why are you trying to move it?
Benjamin Kozlowski lives nearby and says his issue is with the volume.
It's just too loud. I don't mind the music. Go-go's part of the DC culture. What I do mind is the loudness, and it really hurts my ears to walk by.
City officials say the volume has never broken the city's noise ordinance, and complaints to police or the agency that regulates the ordinance are rare. Backlash to T-Mobile's decision has drummed up more than 15,000 signatures to bring the music back.
They trying to kill our.
It also caused this protest, which got support from D.C. Council members Robert White and Brianne Nadeau.
We love people coming to the city, but you gotta respect the neighborhood that you move to.
Activists say the music has been playing here for 24 years, long before newer and whiter neighbors moved in. The grapple over go-go, showing the very real consequences of gentrification.
We have to take a stand. Our culture is what makes this city vibrant. A lot of people moved here for this culture, and we can't let a few people, because this is a few people, destroy what makes DC great.
And if you hear that beeping here, some other people have expressed volume concerns, worried that people who are blind might not be able to hear that noise. T-Mobile has not responded to us about all this tonight. It also...
So that was my colleague, Adam Lambert, breaking it down, just doing a full report on that story. And I can tell you that whatever happens, we have not heard of the last of it. You know, what we found out in our reporting is that for 24 years, Donald Campbell has been playing go-go music from his Metro PCS storefront where Evan was live. That's at the corner of 7th and Florida Streets Northwest. The DC Council is working currently on a bill this session to address the challenges officials face when measuring sound by limiting music played through amplified devices in the city. But community activists, like you saw Ron Moten there, are organizing on behalf of Campbell and his right to play his music. What do you think? What do you think? Got a chance to hear that? Sound off in the comments below. I want to know what you think about that there. Remember to like and subscribe, and let me know what you're thinking about the whole idea of being able to play the music and if it kind of robs the community. We've got 10 more minutes. I'm not going to forget about that. I'm going to stay on top of that. And of course, I'll close out with a little bit of the go-go music here for you. There's a fun one that I saw. I liked this particular story as well that I'm going to dig up for you. The story is one that kind of hokey, but it's not when you think about it. It's all about the fact that if we can agree that the idea of improving transportation is something everybody can get behind, then I think you might find this next story interesting. I'm just going to say that because it's I thought it was kind of fun, and I thought it was one that was actually fairly timely. So I'm pulling that up now, getting that together as I sit here chat with you. And I can tell you that today is one of those days where I'm trying to, giving me an issue here, aren't you? Of course you are. Why wouldn't you? Of course you're giving me an issue. Of course you are. That's all right. As my grandfather used to say, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And we are going to work around this. We will not be deterred by technical limitations or technical obstacles, because I'm going to argue that it's probably not the system. I'm going to tell you it's probably the operator, just to be completely transparent. So let me see if I can get this where I want it to be so that you can see it in a great aspect ratio, which is what we're talking about here. I just want to make sure that I've got it where it needs to be so that it's clear for you. All right, I want to talk to you about this on the other side. This is called the space plane. Yeah, that's true. And it flies 25 times faster than the speed of sound, and it has successfully passed a crucial testing milestone. So it's no longer just phantom hype. It's like really a thing that could happen. So scientists, researchers are working on it, and I want to know what you think. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to pull up a report that was done on this as well, and yeah, we'll chat about it once again on the other side. But this is a space plane, and it flies 25 times faster than the speed of sound. Okay, yeah. Come on, Nicholas. Where is it? Come on, Nicholas is coming. And I can see it is trying to play, but of course, there we go. So the hypersonic plane could get from London to New York in less than 60 minutes. Less than 6 minutes. And transport you from the UK to Australia in 4 hours, okay? So they're showing us some renderings of it there. The idea is that the engine, it actually cools a lot faster. So this is another reason why it affords the opportunity to fly at that higher rate. Now the offshore-based reaction engines has been working with the European Space Agency and the UK Space Agency, along with British Airlines, to make the powerful aircraft. So they're just talking about all the different cities they believe this could fly and take people to. That is just really interesting and exciting. I just think that it's one of those things where sounds like a dream at first, and the next thing you know, they've got it happening, and we're like, whoa, do you remember when it used to take 6 hours to fly from New York to London? Yes, those old days, but now if one could do it in an hour, it'd be a completely different thing entirely. Well, let me see here. I'm going to get out of this. The other thing I wanted to kind of chat about today was some of the fun stuff that we had yesterday on Like It or Not. Hey, Gary, sir, how are you? Gary, I saw you in my periphery there. Gary, quickly, I know you're doing 10,000 things. Pull up a chair and sit with me for a second here.
I'm actually not doing 10,000.
You're always busy. You're always busy. But grab a chair. I'll hold this.
I'm going to take Sean Yancey's chair.
Take Sean Yancey's chair. Chat with us there. Ladies and gentlemen, Gary McGrady. Gary is a meteorologist here at Fox 5 DC. You can catch Gary usually 5, 6, 10, and 11. It's rare that you're going to drag Gary here in the morning, so Gary hasn't really started yet today like I have. Gary,
is that the camera?
That's the camera. Gary, I'm now doing a YouTube channel where we are trying to just remind everyone that we are always on at fox5dc.com.
Right. Big stories, weather.
And weather is the big thing. People want to know weather and traffic. Gary, I know, like I said, you weren't expecting this, but one of the things I try to do when I put people in the hot seat is then to give us a quick background on who they are. And you know, because you're interesting.
Nobody's ever asked. That's great.
When did you know?
When did I know?
That weather was your calling.
Wow, we got to go way back for this. I've always liked it. I've always been interested in it ever since I was a kid. I tell people, like when I go talk to kids, I always say, I grew up in Houston, down in Texas, and there is you get everything there. So whether it was tornadoes, hurricanes, anything tropical, very, very little amounts of snow. The snow would shut the city down. But always interested in the weather. Always thought that would be something I wanted to do. Why? Why does this happen? So went to college and I saw my first tornado and up live and personal, and I was hooked.
You knew then?
Well, I knew then that at that point I wanted to do more than just be a salesman or something like that. I didn't know I was going to go be on TV and forecast the weather and storm chase.
Were you always comfortable talking to people and talking in groups?
I think that, no. Okay. I'm by nature I'm an introvert. I really love my time by myself. And over the years I've kind of busted through that shyness. But no, I would lean towards the more shy side.
Gotcha. Sure.
So I would be the one, just like most people, a little afraid to get up in front of an audience and talk.
Gotcha.
I don't think about it anymore, but back then, yeah. It took me something to get over.
Gary, talk to me about here, DC. So if you just mentioned to me that in Houston, you had so many different things happening with microclimates, would that be microclimates? Or
well, every place has microclimates.
Okay, so that's not specific.
No.
See, stay in your lane, Nicholas.
No, that's a fair question. It's just that you end up in a situation where certain places geographically are more inclined to have a little bit of every kind of weather, whether that's tropical, whether that's thunderstorms, severe thunderstorms, tornadoes, things like that, and then the ability to have some sense of winter weather too. Like if you're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you got a couple of different kinds of weather, 4 seasons, but basically just a couple of types of wetter.
Sure.
So you don't get to see the full range of everything.
So how has that changed coming to like the district? So as challenging, different challenges?
Yeah, no, before I came to DC, I was in Raleigh for 6-7 years, and it's a lot of the same type of weather, right? So I cut my teeth, so to speak, on this East Coast, Mid-Atlantic weather down in Raleigh. and then moved up here. So I had wonderful experience trying to deal with this. Now, that being said, my gosh, Nick, and you were in Raleigh too, so you kind of know that. But since I've been here 15 years now, I mean, we have had blizzards, major snowstorms, shut cities down. We've had unbelievable amounts of severe weather. You have not been here for a lot of that, but anybody that's been here for a long time, the derecho would just completely shut the city down, took power out, wind gusts 80, 90 miles an hour. We've had numerous tornadoes here, Superstorm Sandy. We haven't been really hit by a big hurricane, but we do get kind of the effects of that. And we're always kind of thinking, oh, well, our eyes have to be on the next tropical system that comes up the East Coast, because it can affect Ocean City, it can affect us with flooding, you know, even pushing water back into the Bay and the Potomac creates a lot of problems.
Gotcha.
So we have everything here. I mean, it's been unbelievable in terms of what I do to just be able to see it, forecast it, witness it, be a part of it.
Yeah. Last question. What can we expect this weekend? Mom arrives on Thursday. So going to be,
I think that
I'm
going to be perfectly honest with you. I was kind of sick yesterday. I haven't looked at everything today, and so I know there's a storm coming. I know it can put down a lot of rain. I think more than anything for us. So I'll say this point on Tuesday, in spring, which means the weather is a little bit more of a challenge to forecast several days out. But it looks unsettled. Let's put it that way. Okay. And it looks like we could have a potential for a pretty big kind of storm coming up here. And that's it. I'm done. That's my timer.
That is what I do. Is I say 30 minutes. If you can give me your if you watch me on your lunch break, I won't keep you too long. So that's what it is. So Gary McGrady, thanks again. And I know that everybody can find Gary. Again, if you don't want to go through Twitter and Instagram, you can always find Gary here at fox5dc.com. He's listed there with every other personality here that you might love. So if you love Gary, go ahead and download that Fox 5 weather app as well, because he's always on.
Yes, that's the slug line.
That's
so
the slug line. That's slug line. So when you don't have Gary, you've got Gary in your pocket. So see, I carry Gary right here. So even if he didn't come over.
Okay, and with that, I'm just going to have to leave.
You're going to bow. Gary, thanks again. I appreciate it. So once again, you guys, I want you to remember to like and subscribe below. But I want to try to keep it as spontaneous and organic as possible. When I see a colleague of mine float by, I will try to introduce you and just give you an idea of who they are and what's happening. I'm going to take us out once again with a little bit of the go-go music you and I were talking about. And you and I are going to close it on out with a little bit of Baby Fat by Backyard Band. All right? There we go, you guys. So we're going to do that. And once again, you're going to catch me right here tomorrow, because I'm not going anywhere. I will be here tomorrow sometime during the lunch break. So once again, this is Backyard Band, and we're taking you out with Baby Fat. Don't forget to like and subscribe below and sound off in the comments. I want to know what you think about go-go music and gentrification and how it all plays together, or does it? And remember, you can always catch me on Fox 5's Like It or Not, Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. right here on Fox 5 DC, and our replays in the afternoon at 2:30 in the afternoon, also on Fox 5 DC. But you can stream us live Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. at fox5dc.com. Remember, I'm Nick Smith News on both Instagram and Twitter, and I really appreciate you spending your afternoon with me. Talk to you later. Baby Fat by Backyard Band, go-go music, like it or not.